When you think about brass tacks impact that TR does, how do you think about that? As you're reporting out to the world, kind of the impact of what's going on.
Yeah, we've been really laser focused on measuring impact and outcomes. It's hard, as anybody that's in the nonprofit space knows. There's a lot of organizations out there that do kind of a lot of hand waving, and they say nice things about what their impacts are. You ask them for the receipts, and they're not as good at producing those. And that's because it's just, frankly, it's hard to measure some of these things. I think a lot of organizations could do a better job of even just trying. So for us, I mean, there's very concrete things that we measure. We know exactly how many square feet of homes we mucked out following a flood. We know exactly how many cubic yards of debris that we removed, how many miles of road we cleared following a hurricane, how many homeowners were served. Like, those are all indisputable numbers that we collect and we track and we report out to maintain accountability with the people that are funding our missions. I think the human side of it's harder, right? So it's, we've tried in the past to conduct longitudinal surveys on our volunteers to see what types of human impacts we've had in their lives. Frankly, outside of bringing a couple of PhDs onto the staff, determined that it was just perhaps that was where we could do some of the hand waving and say, like, listen, we've got thousands of anecdotal stories about how we've profoundly improved people's lives. I have letters written to me by spouses who say, thank you for giving me my husband or my wife back. They were a curmudgeonly old shit for 10 years after coming back from Iraq, but now they're the person that I married again because they've rediscovered purpose. Like, I think we can point to those things. And I think most of our investors can look at the hard empirical outputs and impacts that we can demonstrate on the disaster side. And it doesn't take a stretch to connect the dots on what we're doing on the human side.
I thought it was really interesting how you called out, I forget where I saw this, but how the teams prioritize the sites to fix up with the highest socioeconomic impact, not the most severe damage.
Yeah, and this was one of those things that was just a big learning that we had over the first couple of years. When we were an unsophisticated outfit, we'd show up to Joplin, Missouri after a massive tornado and, lacking any sort of operational planning element, any sort of intelligence element, you'd kind of like drive into the town and you'd stop at the first neighborhood you saw that had damage and you just walk around and start offering people to help. And if the median home price in that neighborhood was $250,000, and unbeknownst to you, 2 miles further down the road, the median home price was $75,000 in largely a BIPOC community, like, you just didn't know, like, these people need help, and who cares if they have insurance and they're going to be made whole. But we knew sometimes as we were sitting there helping some of these homeowners, we could kind of look around and say, like, this might even be a vacation home, right? Like, and yeah, you felt you were still doing something nice for, a fellow citizen, but you knew that there were people that needed something more. It's just, how are you going to find them? And so one of the things we do really, really well now is we have very sophisticated operational planning teams, mission planning elements, and we use these geospatial systems. We ingest all sorts of data sets like the US Census data, which has things like the Social Vulnerability Index that we can kind of cross map against the damage and say, all right, like, hey, this census tract has average populations over the age of 65, median household incomes below the poverty line. And oh, by the way, there's fewer than one hospital bed per 1,000 citizens. And these are all indicators of a highly vulnerable population. We're going to go there. And man, that feels a whole lot better.